here to regretfully announce that happens will not be taking place tonight. Instead, there will be an autopsy because that happens was murdered. Dun, dun, dun. Bring out the first suspect, Kevin Day.
Oh no!
What's up, Kevin?
Blame for killing
I got
the show
the
too.
spotlight.
Okay. Yeah.
What's that?
There we go.
Now Kevin's got the spotlight.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm just having a good day. I was telling Kevin before the show started, this is going to be a bad show. And folks, I intend to prove it because the show is so bad. It was murdered. And we're going to have to find out what the deal is. So yeah. Have you ever been to a party that was a murder mystery party?
No, but we're actually going to go to one of those next week. There's some kind of like dinner theater murder mystery thing where somebody in the audience is the killer and you find out who it is during the show and all that. So I'm looking forward to that.
And it's a dinner theater?
Yeah, you eat while you solve a mystery of who the murderer is, of all the other people that are there.
Mm-hmm. Man, well, there should be... Oh, this is so stupid. I will say it. As punishment, there should be a dinner theater production of Eat, Pray, Love. And that's kind of the whole idea is that you like eat and pray and love, I guess, at the show.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. This is what we're dealing with.
Okay.
So I think last week, we tried to overcorrect to a critique that a listener had shared on our Reddit. And yeah, we tried to give the audience more Kevin, give the people what they want. Kevin, of course, doesn't remember because he was drugged, as he often is. But, that was what the episode was about, is giving the people more Kevin. And we have had more feedback on the episode. And it was too much Kevin. So this is what I was always afraid of. This is honestly why I was hiding this from the audience, is because I knew it was going to reach this tipping point. And, I'm a famous guy. I'm used to dealing with the heartbreak that comes with publicity. But Kevin, he's a humble man. He's got the heart of a child, essentially, which is the best kind of heart to have. Why am I going on record as saying that? But, he can't handle the heartbreak of people being like turning cold on him and stuff. So I tried to shield him, but no, the audience, they have responded, and it is decided that Kevin, he will no longer be on the show. So we're going to need you to hire a replacement and train them. And I guess we'll check back on that process as it continues. But yeah, we're going to have to get rid of the Kevin because the audience didn't like it when we had so much of him last week. What do you think about that, Kevin?
See, I know you were joking, but so last week before the show started, I was not feeling well. So I took some NyQuil, and then like an hour later, I was still not feeling well. So I took some more NyQuil. I don't really remember much about last week's show. You could tell me I told you anything right now and I would believe you.
Yeah.
So
and speaking of which, Kevin, Kevin loves innuendo. And when he says he wasn't feeling well, what he means is I did a bunch of heroin. And when he says I took a bunch of NyQuil, what it means is I was passed out for 4 to 6 hours.
That sounds just like me. Yes.
Yeah. That's Kevin's deal, folks. We found it. We nailed him. Yes. I cut you off, which I'm trying not to do from now on. No, I'm still going to try to do that. I'll just try and circle back and apologize for it and hope to spur you onto what you were talking about previously.
You should do that more.
Yeah. Go interrupt or cut you off?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't think that guy would like that if I cut you off more. Anyway. Life update, Kevin. You got a life update.
I was really sick last week, so all week I've just been catching up on everything I missed out on from being sick.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it for me. You have anything new in your life?
I have no idea what happened last week. Oh, I pitched I did a pitch. I was pitching. I don't want to talk about that though. It's secret, and I'm superstitious about it, which is probably not a good trait. But I don't want to talk about it. It's probably bad to talk about anyway, even from a not superstitious standpoint, like legal standpoint. Who even knows? But I guess I was doing that, and so maybe that's why my brain has failed me. I'm just, I've been out of it the rest of the week, just trying not to think about it or just being relaxed that I'm not doing it. I don't know. I do public speaking. I'm public speaking right now in a matter of speaking publicly. But, it's still nerve wracking to present stuff, and especially a pitch. It's like, oh, money could be on the line here, so I don't know. It wasn't as bad as it could be, but it was pretty scary. I did 2 pitches, and the one of them was in the late afternoon, like evening, which is a terrible time for pitching, because business meetings, it's so stupid, man. We all like act like everything's serious, and then we're all these little like puppets controlled by like hormones and shit. But if you have meetings at the end of the day, they're just not as good meetings. No one's in the right mood. If it's a pitch meeting, they're like ready to go home. They don't want to really dig in and engage on new ideas they've never heard of or thought about, before. It's not a good time to pitch. It would be better to pitch earlier in the morning or like directly after lunch or something. But it's weird that these are we were talking last week about the shadowy kind of Olympus kind of world that these suits hang out in, and this is the same kind of thing where it's like the timing of your meeting and how close to lunch it is or isn't could determine whether or not your pitch goes well. But realistically, that's less important than the idea or the talent of the people or how famous Keanu Reeves is or whatever. But but as unrelated to that, it's just nerve wracking to be all like, okay, I just got to go through all day, and then at 5 p.m., then it's like showbiz, baby, got to really sell. It's just all I could do was just try not to think about it and freak out alternately. Those are the 2 things I kind of just walking around all day. It sucked. And so then the next one was the next week, and I kind of forgot that it was that day. Not like in an I was late sense, but just in a like, it was kind of good that I had the weekend and I wasn't worrying about it because, I wasn't thinking about that I had to do it. And then it was in the morning. So that pitch went a lot easier. It was just less stressful because when it was done, I was like, okay, I'm done. And I was done. And I guess that's all I did. Elden Ring came out. Kevin, you hear about this Elden Ring?
I have. I haven't tried it yet. Have you?
Yeah, I've been playing it. I don't know why. I thought for some reason it was an MMORPG, like World of Warcraft or something. But as far as I can tell, it's just the same kind of game as they always make, where it's like you can show up in someone else's game, but it's not fundamentally like this big multiplayer, MMO sort of game. So I guess I don't really know why I thought it was an MMO this whole time, but it's not. I guess it's just the open world factor. That's probably the new thing. And open world and MMO kind of go hand in hand. I don't know, but it's been fun. It's been kicking my ass. I don't know. It's not my kind of game exactly, but I like hard games, so it's fun to play hard games, I guess. I don't know.
What's the best kind of game in that genre?
What, Kevin? Like? What? Wait, what was the question? Sorry.
In that same genre, what do you think is a well executed game?
Well, compared to say Mega Man, you have a good amount of checkpoints. You can get life back and find health, like life up items, like 1-ups and stuff. The controls are really tight. Like when you jump in the air, if you hold left, you'll go left, and if you hold right, you'll go right. There's not momentum to your jumps or anything compared to like, say, Castlevania, where you kind of get locked into this one exact jump arc and you'll always do it. So it's like the game is really hard and it's twitchy. You got to like react really quickly, but it's like, it's really responsive and the controls are really tight. Whereas in Dark Souls, you press a button and then upwards of like a second and a half later, you'll complete your attack animation. And so it's like, well, in Mega Man, if I need to jump out of the way at the last second because I realize this is going to work, I can do that. But in Dark Souls and those kinds of games, you can't because you're already committed to the attack animation. So it really becomes about not overcommitting to these overextended attack animations. That's a lot of the difficulty. Whereas mine's like, oh, let me just quickly jump out of the way of this Mega Man bullet or whatever, you know? So they're fundamentally the same kind of thing. They just involve a different, I don't know, perception of time, maybe. But yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's really popular and it's fine. I'm digging it and stuff. But like I said, I just thought it was going to be an MMO that everyone is playing, and it's kind of not. It's just another Souls game, which is, you know, whatever. That's fine. Everybody loves it.
Are there any MMOs you've really gotten yourself addicted to in the past?
I played World of Warcraft. I played Final Fantasy 14 over the pandemic. When the pandemic started, I was like, this is a good time to get into an MMO. I'll have a lot of time to waste, and I did. And so it has this pretty involved story plot that's kind of unique. There's kind of like a main storyline for a lot of MMOs, but Final Fantasy 14 is really complete. It's almost like, if it was a Final Fantasy game, that would just be what the Final Fantasy game was, is just this kind of main quest line that takes you across the world to these different areas and stuff, So it's pretty advanced and it's pretty interesting for that reason. So it's fun to check it out. And it's nice because it's good. A lot of MMOs are just not good. And so it's like a good one, and it's different from World of Warcraft in a lot of ways. So it's interesting to see what's a good MMO that doesn't do what World of Warcraft does. Like, where do let's do the same thing, and where do they go, oh, let's try doing this different? It's interesting to see the kind of diverging kind of game design choices. And they work really well in 14. Like in 14, you can change your jobs to any job. What a good podcast. I told you guys, right? You can change your job to like any other job. So if you're like, oh, I want to be a wizard, and then you're like, I'm done being a wizard, let me go be a swordsman. You can just switch to being a swordsman. And you have to start over at 0 for your swordsman. But then if you're like, let's go back to being a mage, you'll get all your levels back of mage when you switch back. So you can kind of on the side train up your swordsman without being penalized for wanting to switch classes back and forth, which is a little bit better than a lot of other things because you retain your money, you retain your equipments and some of your stats and stuff. So it's not all your stats. I guess not most of your stats. Anyway, but it's it's not a complete, I'm going to have to get all the gear, I'm going to have to do all the stuff to change classes. You can kind of just swap between the ones that you like, which is cool and not really something you can do in most MMOs. I guess, yeah. What about you? You play any MMOs?
I played Warcraft for a long time, and before that, Final Fantasy 11. I don't know if you played that, but that game was
tiny bit
hard. Final Fantasy 11 was very, very, very hard. And it was one of those, once World of Warcraft came out and you tried it once, it was just impossible to go back to it for me. It was just all of this just pointless nonsense that wastes 5 hours of your time before you can even start playing. That's 2 minutes in Warcraft. Yeah, I'm going to play that instead. Yeah. I still miss playing that game, but I've tried it a couple of times to go back to it, and it's just such a time sink. Have you tried the 11?
Yeah, it's really bad. So okay, let's describe the play experience in 11. You'll go into the starting zone and you'll see a bunch of identical roly-polies. And you'll be like, oh, this must be a roly-poly. I'm going to attack it. And then it murders you because you didn't do it right. And it's oh, I guess that roly-poly was too hard, and it was. And you don't know why, but what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to scan or check any enemy that you come up on to check what its individual level is. Because despite it being, a desert full of identical roly-polies, this one's level 2, and this one's level 3, and this one's level 10, and this one's level 5. And you can only take level 0 or something. You can't even take a level 2 monster at level 1, at all. So you're so reliant on never picking a fight with anything that's even close to your level in the game. And then, so grinding just takes fucking forever. And this all happens before you get a job. So you have to grind to level 20 or something, which is an impossible feat in most games before you can even get the job, which is what, an MMO is, which is the different, abilities and the cool things that you can do, that separate it from another game. Because, the base mechanic in an MMO is just attack, and, you usually just get hit. You can't really dodge too much. Some attacks can be dodged, but usually you just kind of take turns hitting each other in an MMO, and then you deploy abilities. So before you have abilities to deploy, you're just swinging at fucking roly-polies for 20 levels. It takes like 5 weeks. Like, it's insane. And that's the whole game, and it just keeps happening over and over. And apparently at some point it's supposed to get good, but I'll tell you what, it's after level 12, and I don't even think I got to level 10. So it's not a good game, in my opinion.
What made it worse too was, so the game came out in Japan like a year and a half before it came out in North America. But you play on the same servers. So what you were doing was you were playing with, like, for every person that spoke English on the server, there were 5 people who spoke Japanese. And you were like level 10, and they all were like level 60 something. And none of them wanted to help you do anything because, the people who did not speak Japanese had the reputation for not knowing what they were doing, because you were all these newbies that were coming into an already established world. So it was basically, even though you were playing with other people, you really didn't interact with other people. And and when you die,
right, especially before you get levels, there's not as much like partying and grouping up, right? Once you get levels, then it's like, then you start to group up, but until then you're kind of just grinding. But can't you like hoard? Isn't it like people would not block, but you'd use up like the grinding areas, like the good grinding areas. So it was also very like, it was like, the multiplayer was actively destructive. Like, it detracted from other people's game experience in a lot of these mechanics. Not all of them, but early game, it definitely was like that, if I recall. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things. I mean, it's such an interesting format of game, an MMO, because it's like, it's part of it is to kind of make activities and stuff to have people be and just hang out in the world, like the house system and stuff. It's just interesting to see all the choices that Final Fantasy 11 made. It was really fucked. It was also made for PlayStation 2, right? So it was the controls were designed for a PlayStation 2 controller, which is a very simplified control scheme compared to what you can normally use on a computer. So like, whereas in World of Warcraft, you have all these hot bars all over the place and you can do like a ton of different things. Like, you were very limited in Final Fantasy because they wanted it to be manageable to a PlayStation controller. So it's just, it's more nested menus as opposed to hotkeys for a lot of stuff, if I recall, which is not ideal. Again, it's like, it had a lot of interesting, cool design choices, but the whole frame and engine of it was just, to me, like, in my opinion, just really non-conducive to what MMOs try to do. But because of the cool ideas, I think it drew people in. I don't know.
Like, there was a good game there and I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't until I realized that there was a better alternative, that all of this stuff that annoyed me was not essential to the process. Just even logging into that game would take 5 minutes, because you had to load Sony's launcher thing. And then from there, you had to load Final Fantasy. And then from there, you had to log into the world. Then you had to pick your character. And you had to, like, I'm not kidding. It could be 5 minutes from you deciding, I want to play this game, until you were standing in front of your character. And
I mean, that's the design. That's the thing about game design, It's just, and FromSoft games, Dark Souls games, they're famous for being really difficult and stuff, and they are difficult. But to me, it's like, it's more just that bad design that bumps against me, which a lot of people are like, oh, it's intentional. It's trying to root people out and weed people out. And it's like, you can say that, but also you can just have a control scheme that's better. Nothing is stopping you. You're just making that choice to make a bad control scheme and say it's on purpose. But it's like, okay, that's bad design. What if I made a staircase, right? And it was 2 steps and, each step was like 5. It's like, no, it's supposed to be just 2 steps. It's like, okay, that's a design choice. Are people going to be able to climb that staircase? No, but it's not about that. It's about being 2 steps. It's like, okay, It's for the people who appreciate giant steps. It's like, yeah, no, I'm sure it is. They'll get a huge kick out of it. Is that what a staircase is supposed to be? Some sort of weird fetish object for weird people who like giant steps? I don't think so. I think it's supposed to be a specific thing that people use to get up and down, from floors. But so like FromSoft games are like that, where it's like, yeah, you can make these decisions. I don't think they're good game design decisions. They certainly lend to this atmosphere of this FromSoft game mystique that the fans certainly like, but it's different to me than just saying, oh, this game's super hard, because again, Mega Man is super hard, but in Mega Man, you're never unclear on what you do because there's no dialogue. You're just going left to right 100% of the time. Like there's no real choices to make in that. There's not the same kind of choices. Whereas in Dark Souls, it's like, oh, you pick up a finger and it's like, oh, what's this finger? And it's like, oh, do I use it? And you use it and it's like, okay, it did something. I'm not sure what it did. I don't even remember what that finger was called because there's 20 different fucking fingers in this game. And so it's like, okay, I know I wasted a resource. I didn't learn anything about it. I feel bad that I used it, don't know what it did, and now don't have it anymore. And that's not difficulty. That's just, it's not anything. It's just a choice. And it's like, well, now I just feel bad. And it's like, well, again, that's like what they want you to feel, this punishing kind of bleak atmosphere. Ludonarrative dissidence. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. What else is up, Kevin?
This is important. In games, what's your feeling on unskippable cutscenes and dialogue?
I wish I had something funny to say because this is a podcast. It's supposed to be entertaining, but it's not excusable anymore. It used to be excusable before we figured out that this could be done. But these days it's like, no, come on. Obviously you don't want people to skip past important stuff, but at the very least you need to give them the option. Like maybe go like, hey man, this is one of 5 cutscenes that you really got to be seeing. But if they tell you that and you're like, no, I saw it. The power just went out. I just am trying to rush through this part. You should have that option. They shouldn't be all like, no, we know that you got to see this. That's stupid. So that's a good.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think any cutscene or dialogue or whatever you should be able to skip, just because once you've done it more than once, it's annoying. And sometimes, like, I will play play a game without caring about the story in any way whatsoever. Yeah, I just want to blow something up. I really don't care my motivation for doing it. I just want to blow it up. Not always, but sometimes. So pretty much any game now that doesn't let me skip stuff, I don't play.
Yeah, it just like it also just makes you wonder, like, is this intentional? Was there some sort of glitch preventing them from doing it? Did they really think like, oh no, we know what's best for him? I mean, who knows? But also, I do want to say that I was trying to express how good my answer was to your question, and you kind of cut me off. The answer was really good. And it makes me feel really good about myself. And, a lot of times I can have self-esteem issues, but I can look to, guiding lights in these moments, such as that answer, to remember that, I am a good person and I do mostly know what's going on. So, that was what I probably would have gone on to say if you didn't, end up cutting me off, which is fine. I mean, the people want to hear from you more than anything else. And I'm more than happy to provide it from you, but I'm just trying to be transparent and, talk about the answer. But,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they'll appreciate it too. The audience, speaking of the audience, we're going to be speaking to the audience. Well, I don't know if we will. So we've been talking about trying to talk to the audience, and Kevin has solicited questions, and this is not on Kevin, but the questions that people have been submitting are the kinds of questions when you're trying to help, which is not what we need. We don't need people that are like, oh, they need questions. I guess I better help. Oh my God, let them toss them some questions so they don't have no questions. That would be so bad. Which, good instinct, good. I'm glad you people exist. I'm glad you're thinking on those terms. But those kinds of questions, I don't think they're necessarily good questions. You know, you want real burning questions that are stuck in people's craw, the kind of things that they've kept inside for like 5 years, but then just like need to get them out. The kind of stuff that is weird to do on a podcast. You know, these are the kinds of questions we need, not the kinds of questions where it's like, they've been asking for questions. We better toss them a couple. Otherwise, they're not going to have any questions for the episode, you know? So there's a distinction there in my mind. Maybe it's semantic more than anything else. But so what's the deal on the audience front, Kevin?
So we've had some questions come in. I just sent them some invites to join our Zoom meeting. Our first person just joined. So are you ready for a?
Well, here's the thing. Am I able to kick these people?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I think so.
Okay.
If not, just tell me and I will.
I know I can do that, but it's funnier if I can kick them, you know?
Okay.
It's also safer if I can kick them. I know you have an itchy kick finger, but you know.
Okay. You are now co-host. You can kick people too.
Oh, okay. I can. Okay. See, now I can kick people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready for our first?
Yeah. Let's take them one at a time, I guess. Huh?
All right. Let's bring the first one in here.
All right. Caller, you're on the air. Caller, you're on the air.
Oh,
he's
not
muted
quite
and
here
he's
yet.
connected to the audience, so he can't hear me.
He's still joining.
And he's muted, which is good. It's good to start muted, but it's not good to keep being muted, you know, which he is.
Yes.
But that's fine. You know, some people don't want, some people, when they come onto a Zoom for a podcast to be an audience participant, you know, they don't want to talk, and that's fine. That's fine if you want to come on and be an audio guest on the podcast and don't talk. Caller, you are on the air. Turn your radios down. How are you doing? Can you hear us? We're on the planet Earth.
Yes, I can hear you, but down. Hi.
Hi. What's
Can
your
you hear
name,
me?
caller? Caller, what's your name and where are you coming from? And we can hear you. Yes. Can you hear us, caller?
Oh, okay, great. I'm Nalut. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Spencer. Hi, Discord. I'm actually from Italy right now, but Kevin knows my story. Anyway, I was wondering about the word building process that you use for create, Armon Quest and your D&D campaigns.
Sure. So your name is, how do you pronounce your name one more time? It's Nalut?
Yes, it's Nalut.
Okay. And you said you were from Italy right now. So where were you from before right now?
Well, I moved here like 10 years ago. I grew up in Mumbai and Bali mostly.
I gotcha. Okay, so you're from Mumbai and Bali, and now you're in Italy, which is where you're. So you're in Italy now, right? You're not somewhere else.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I'm right now.
Okay, so your question
was.
Sorry,
I was a little confused because of the double audio. So sorry. So turn your radios down for this. Otherwise you will be confused by the double audio. And this is being recorded. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to miss this, don't worry. It'll be here later. And I've called in. I can empathize with that problem. I want to hear myself, but it does detract from it, which is not a criticism of you, just me sharing something about myself. So again, to your question, this is the question that I feel like is just you trying to help. Is this a real question you're really curious about? Yes, absolutely. Because I felt like when you play D&D, you mostly use your player. I mean, they're a great improviser, and you nourish that. But I was wondering, since Armon Quest is a little more, is it your story more than improvising with the people? I mean, you have a script, so you probably create, the ship, the various tribe, and all the lore. And I was wondering actually how you came up with that. I believe it's different from your campaign, but tell me.
Yeah, I don't know. So for Harmon Quest, I was more driven by a plot perspective, both in terms of this is being a TV show that I want it to have a coherent plot that an audience can follow, but also it's like it's just more of like a showcase of D&D in this kind of tight time frame. And so whereas normally my DM style is just kind of meandering and going all over the place and not really driving in a single plot, I was like, well, we should do that. And since it's Dan, we should use the story circle. So I usually don't do it like this when I do D&D stuff, but I was working on, trying to make an adventure that fit the story circle for all 3 seasons of Harmon Quest. And so that was really specific. The process was weird because normally when you do D&D, you don't submit your outlines for notes to like a network that doesn't play D&D, like because you're giving essentially a D&D outline to someone who is used to getting a screenplay outline, and it's not like a script, it's like a lot different, and so it's really weird. And then they have notes, which are notes that you'd give on a TV show, and then so you got to be like, well, it's a game, it's not a TV show. You roll dice and I can't say what's going to happen because it'll be random, so it's weird dealing with the note process being like, yeah, we can address that, but also I can't promise anything because what if they kill the guy that you said should talk about this? What if they just stab him in the throat before he says anything? Okay, I guess I couldn't do your note, so it's weird to communicate that to executives in this kind of note-taking context, which is, it's just strange. But it also it changes the way you do the notes. Or it changes the way you kind of write the D&D stuff. So, I don't know. Basically, I would just come up with seed ideas like, what about a city on the seashore? What about a crazy swamp? What about an underground cavern system? Ideas like that. And then like other ideas like, oh, dragon, oh, zombies, oh, fungus brains. I don't know, stuff like that. And then like other things like, oh, are we trying to get an artifact? Are we trying to sneak into something? Are we trying to defeat a group of enemies? And then ideas like those. And then I would just kind of mash them together, try and come up with cool ideas. The things that really caught in my head, I would develop those and keep trying to enhance the ideas. Like, oh, what would be cooler than that? Like, what would be cooler than that? And just try and beat anything. And then those would become the episode concepts. And then I would try and also come up with good story ideas for the season. And then I would try and map those story beats onto, oh, it would be cool if when they were really frustrated, everyone was in the desert, for instance, and then I could move those around as necessary, but using this kind of story circle as the season arc, I plugged everything in and just kind of, I don't know, I just did it like normal D&D, but thinking a little bit about plot more than normal. So does that answer your question?
Yes, and maybe
yes, and that's the hallmark of improv. Sorry, continue.
Sorry, I was wondering maybe something about like a sort of muse that you use. Were you inspired about something in particular, or?
No, not specifically. I think video games are a big inspiration for me. I guess there was the, what do you call it? We did a season before. It was like the lost season or the unbought season, the dead season. And the plot was based on the dead season, but it was more refined and more interesting. The dead season was basically, there's just this disease. It's turning everyone into zombies. And you got to stop it. And so it was a lot less elaborate than the plot of the season 1 ended up being. But anyway, I hope that answers your question. Yes. Kevin, kick this guy out of the room before he could say anything. Oh, see, it's too late. You're being too slow, Kevin. You're not kicking him. Thank you so much to Nalut, who's still not been kicked. And maybe never will be, honestly. Okay, so Kevin, you want to make sure to go drop into the Discord and thank Nalu and tell him that it was a funny podcast show kicking. and not like an I'm mad at you kicking, because thank you so much to Nalut for participating and being the first person to talk to. He is from the evil and dreaded Schraub Home Video Discord, and thusly is someone who I hate, which is why I wanted to kick him, but in the funny way. Again, it was a funny way to kick someone. It wasn't serious. You could tell how funny it was by how funny it was. It was definitely very funny in the moment. The timing was perfect. I think, it was a really funny dismount to the call. It really worked out, and I think that came across very clearly. So yeah, I think we got to get to our next caller. I don't know. I'm not going to say this is working great, but it's working. This is something we could do. I think it's like we got to come up with prompts or something. I was telling that to Kevin, but then I didn't come up with any prompts. But before we could get to the next guest, we are going to need to take a short break. Isn't that right, Kevin?
It is. Yes. Commercial time.
Okay. Hello. My name. Hello. My name. Hello. My name. Hello. My name. Use the promo code Goblin Flakes. And then up on screen, it just slowly fades. It says, hello. My name. A Johnson & Johnson company. Okay. And we're back. Thank you so much. That was, just a quick message from our breaks. It's a company. Let's see here. I'm not sure much about this company. It says it's a non-profit company for people with repetitive speech tics. That's interesting. Is that ableist? I guess that's ableist. Okay, I'm canceled. All right, let's bring out our next guest. Do they have a question? Well, let's just talk to them. And those questions, it seems like a farce anyway. So we are going to go through this audio process, this connecting to audio process, which I will talk through because otherwise it'll be silent. And it's interesting. I don't know. One thing I learned, Kevin, is that when I think about podcasting, I think about it in terms of when I listen to podcasts. But when I listen to podcasts, I'm listening to them at 2x speed. So I'm thinking of people talking really, really fast with no pauses and being like, yeah, no, that's normal podcasting. That's what I should strive to do. And it's like, that's not how anyone experiences podcasts. But anyway, we got Kelly Gaumont on the line. Maybe we shouldn't say their names. I don't know. Whatever. Sorry, I won't say your name in the future in such a way. But you are muted. If you were talking, no one's been hearing you. But if you aren't talking, how's it going? Can we hear you? Can you hear us? Do you want to try telling us where you're from as some sort of audio test?
Yeah, no, let's find out. I don't know. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Right.
So where are you calling from, caller?
I am calling from the frozen hellscape of Edmonton, up in Alberta.
And so that's a Canada place, and I know geography, and I'm actually very smart. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, you nailed the geography. You'd be surprised how many people don't. I was pre-pandemic, I was traveling, and I talked to people in like Washington State who didn't know where Alberta was, and I was like, "You're like nearly touching." So.
Yeah, I don't think I could know where it was on a map because it's pretty far west, right? And I think of most of the places in Canada, just any place, if you named it, I would just assume it's more on the east, So yeah, I'm not good. But also Edmonton sounds like a normal city. I mean, I'm sure there's Edmontons in America, right? So if you're just saying Edmonton, but also Alberta kind of sounds a little bit like a state, like it could be a state. I don't know. I mean, it's not obviously, but I guess it's maybe just because it sounds a little bit like Alabama or something, or just the AL. It's like we got Alaska, we got Alabama, Alberta. Why not? I don't know. So maybe that's why, but I'm sure it's not. It's because no one thinks about anything. People couldn't even tell you where any states in America were, let alone name a country outside of America. But did you have a question or did you not have a question?
I do have a question, but it is funny you mention that because there are people here that literally want to be a state. Like they're the people with the Confederate flags on their trucks. Super cool people. Yeah. The separatists. But yeah, my question,
the Nazis, they're at again. I guess those aren't Nazis, but
a lot of them are. It's like the cold Texas thing is like extremely true here.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like it's just interesting. I don't know. The world is so interesting, and not from a judgmental place. Just like man, this is incredible. Look at this whole thing, this whole planet. Anyway, what was your question? Let's get to the brass tacks, and hopefully my genius can shine on you.
Yeah, my question had to do with. It's a pretty open-ended question, but like, how do you go about trying to teach like a total beginner, like such as a Harmon Quest guest, to do role playing when like maybe they haven't heard of it before? Because it's something I've been like doing myself lately, and like trying to just like boil it down to somebody who's like, I've never heard of role playing, I've never heard of D&D.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to teach someone something, and it's hard to teach someone how to teach someone something, right? So, the way you teach something is going to differ depending on your skills and their skills, and, your stuff and their stuff, all of that, so that's a big problem. But one of the big problems I encounter teaching people D&D is just the expectations. As people grow up, adults feel less comfortable with failure. We try less new things. We feel worse about failure if we feel like we won't know, if we won't look like we know what we're doing, or we feel like we're going to look like an asshole and make a fool of ourselves. We'll avoid situations much more often than when you're younger. So D&D being this wholly unknown, mysterious phenomenon that you hear a lot, and it has a lot of baggage and associations people make with cults and weirdos and nerds and blood sacrifice and dice and rule books that are complicated and notebooks, all this stuff. It can conjure so many different things for so many different people, because it's like a Three Blind Mice sort of situation. It's like, oh, the dice means occult to me, or the dice means nerdy math probability to me. Who knows? But because of that, just getting them to see what it is, see the real D&D, not a cartoon version of what they say D&D is, not fucking Stranger Things, although Stranger Things is, a fine depiction of D&D is my understanding, but actually people playing D&D, adults, casual adults in pants, at tables seeing D&D. So there's streams that play D&D. Harmon Quest is honestly, I think, a good demystifier, because it's like, oh, wait, these are just people. It's not nerds playing a game. It's people telling jokes, which again, it's like, I didn't think it could be people telling jokes. I thought it would be like playing Risk. I thought it would be like really strategic and intense rule scrutiny. Who knows? But that's the big thing that you need to get them across. I think, once they know what to expect, you can meet them where they're at rules wise. Ideally, you should be able to, because everybody doesn't have to have the mastery of the rules. Everybody has to come together and have something close to the whole of the rules. Like the DM doesn't have to know anything. They just need to know what the players don't know. And the players can help by knowing what the DM doesn't want to keep track of and stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just trying to show them, even if that's making them, or having them come to a game or watch you play a game or something. I don't know. But I think that's the kind of the breakdown. The specifics are just, you start by making a character sheet. You kind of just talk them through that. They don't need to understand the character sheet process. It's like doing your taxes. There's the tax sheet, and then there's that one sheet that says, okay, do these steps 1 through 12 or whatever. And it's like, you don't know why you do those steps, but the paper says to do them. And it's like, okay, yeah, the W2 box A, it is over here, and I can add it to this, and I can put it in this box. You can walk through someone through that process without them understanding it all. And then once they have their sheet and they know what D&D looks like, because they know what to expect, then they can bring their self in. Like, as long as they're trying to engage, say, like, if they're saying, oh, I want to jump up on the table, or I want to talk to someone, you can again meet them where they are and get them the rules information that they need without overloading them. I think what I do on Harmon Quest is take on a lot of that rules baggage myself, so they don't have to think about it. So they just have to imagine the scenario and then pretend to be in it and say what they want to do, because that's fundamentally already a hard thing for adults to get into the headspace of. That was a lot of talking. How long did I talk for? Jesus Christ. Does that answer your question at all, you think?
It does. Like, I totally agree about like what you're trying to do with Harmon Quest, because like what you described is exactly was my experience. Because some friend said, "Hey, look at this cartoon," and I had never actually seen any role playing before, and it was exactly what you're saying. I thought it was just like I've always been kind of a nerd, but that was what I positioned as like, these are like the really sweaty nerds. And then when I saw it, I was like, this is just improv. I love improv. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like that was and now it's like a huge thing for me. So
yeah, and it's funny, I always felt like that about LARPing. Like LARP, that's where the nerds are in LARPing. But it's like it's the same kind of weird gatekeepery behavior. It's so strange. But yeah, like I've been talking about a little bit, that I've been trying to make these videos and trying to figure out how to teach people to play D&D. And as part of thinking about that, these are kind of some of the lessons I've learned, is that you want to get people at the table. All you need to get people at the table is the character sheet. They make pre-made character sheets. You can just print them off and hand them to someone. You don't even have to roll the character. You got to get them to the table. So how do you get them to the table? You got to make them think they're welcome there. And, part of that is expectations, and part of them is having some sort of competence or confidence in the rules on any level. A lot of time that just is knowing what a D20 is, and knowing that you can grab it when you're told and roll it and add a number to it, But if you don't know that's all it is, it's so scary, and it's like, think about football. Football's so fucking complicated. Like, if you could just explain football, I mean, like all the rules of football, if they just boiled down to, you roll a D20 and add a number, like it would be a lot simpler to explain. People are capable of understanding complex things, but we just think of D&D as being this really complicated thing because of, again, all these associations and baggage and stuff. I don't know. You got any final thoughts before Kevin kicks you in a comedic way?
Yeah, I would just, as a follow-up question, if I can, like, have you looked into or played around with using like simpler systems than D&D to kind of get people more hooked? Because that's something that we ended up doing, was just like a homebrew rule set, and said like, okay, like this is like, there's 2d6. I don't even use that phrasing. I tell people like, do you have 2 Monopoly dice? Like, great, you can do it. And then, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, the rules obviously don't matter. It's about, when I was a kid, we used to do basically D&D, just no dice. And if someone did something that seemed like it would work, it would always work. It was like, you can play D&D like that with no dice and just narrating, and the DM just adjudicates and say, oh, no, that doesn't happen. You actually fail. Like, you can just do that. And I think that would mostly be fine. When there was that time when me and Kevin were playing on the podcast, and I didn't have the dice, and I was just like, yeah, 2 of your firebolts hit and one of them misses and stuff, and it's like, this is still the same game. It's like, fundamentally it feels the same. I haven't messed with a lot of specific systems, but Fate is one that I think is directly intended for this sort of purpose. It's much more simplified, but also rules wise it feels a lot more like an adult board game. Just like, with a board game, you pull out a rules insert, you read it to 3 or 4 people, they go, haha, a couple people aren't paying attention, you hand out the pieces and you go, haha, what are we doing? And you kind of just start and go into it. Fate is not quite that simple, but it's more that approach where you're thinking about it in terms of card games or like board game rules. Like, what all the players have different moves, and the DMs have moves, and moves are a lot like cards. And so you're kind of just like playing cards, but instead of playing a card, like instead of playing a king, or instead of using a feat in Dungeons and Dragons, it's like, well, I'm a hunter character, so I'm going to play my track the play card, or prey card, which, like, if you're talking about a big crocodile that's on the loose, it's like, yeah, I know how to get this crocodile because I'm going to track the prey, or if it's like, oh my God, this guy just got murdered by a vampire, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to track the prey, so it's like, it's broken into card-like rules interactions, which are, I think, exactly in the pocket of what you're talking about, because there is complexity, but I think also a lot of the complexity you can avoid, again, with all different rules, dice kind of systems, but the base rule system is a lot more in the pocket of what you're talking about. I'm repeating myself. Anyway, Kevin, you didn't kick this guy, and any of the times it would have been funny to do it. I'm so sorry,
to do something
Kelly.
Shocking or offensive to get
well,
kicked?
really, you should start talking about something, and Kevin should kick you mid-speech, like it was really important, and so the fact we're kicking you is like, oh man, we really got this guy, so do you want to try to spin up a rant or something, and Kevin can kick you?
Oh, absolutely. One of my most deeply held tabletop convictions is that, like,
That was good. Okay, thank you so much. It was you know why it was good is because I wanted to hear a couple more words that he was saying, and that's how you know it was good. Okay, so we have one more person in the waiting room, and we're at 16 minutes, so this is even less D&D time. Well, do you want to talk to someone or do you want to play D&D? Again, this is you. It's Kevin time. It's still residually Kevin time, despite what I was saying earlier in the show. The show is it's now called That Kevin's. So,
why don't we take one more call? That way, I can re-listen to last week's D&D before we play again because I remember nothing of it.
All right. Well, just to clue you in, one of your friends died in combat, and then you realize that he was dead all along. And he wasn't alive in the future. That doesn't even make sense. Okay, put Mr. Luke on. Let's talk to Mr. Luke. And Kevin, do be thinking about a comedic time to kick him, please. So he is also, we got Mr. Luke is connecting to audio. And so at some point we're going to, well, this is fun, right? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. It's more interesting than, well, the thing is, it is still just me talking the whole time. It's just this really very, very minimal interruption and direction is happening,
That sort of works for our format, though.
Yeah, that's the thing about not having a format. If you're just like, if your show is just a spill of liquid on the floor, then like it doesn't really matter what you do to it. It's like, yeah, shit in it, clean it up, kick it around. It's like, yeah, it's still basically the same thing. It never was anything. Hey, how's it going, Mr. Luke? Where are you at? Can you hear us? Where are you coming from if you can hear us? I just heard you, by the way, so I can see you moving.
Yes, hello, I can hear you.
Awesome. Where are you calling from?
I am calling from Canada, from the frozen north.
Okay. Are you in Edmonton, Alberta?
No, I am in Pokeshaw, New Brunswick. That's like at the foot of a little place called Acadia.
Okay. Brunswick is a bowling alley.
Oh yeah. This is a province on the Atlantic seaboard.
I love a province, but today we're not talking about provinces. We're talking about questions. I guess your question could be about provinces. That would make me look like a real asshole. But so what do you do? What do you do for a living, or with a majority of your time?
What do I do? Oh, I fish lobster. I do a lot of things. I'm a gardener.
Nice.
I network. I create. I'm a creative on 101. I have a show in prime time called The Hooba Hooba.
Oh, awesome! That's so cool. And you're fucking you catch the world's deadliest catch. Is that correct? What kind of lobsters?
That is close to correct. I don't know how deadly they are. They're deadly if they attach to you, I suppose. But rough waters out there, and I've seen some deadliest catch level things definitely in my life. Yeah.
You see people, you work with anyone. Okay, have you witnessed anyone losing any fingers or bits?
Not on the water, but in operating a sawmill, I severed a bone in the tip of my finger in half, and then that bone tip that was severed again vertically between some angle iron and a probably around 1,000-pound log.
And then what happened after it split in both of those ways?
I screamed "motherfucker" really, really loud, and went to the ER, and it's all good now. I have full use of my crooked finger. It's good.
The ER, that must have cost you tons and tons of money.
Being in Canada, yeah, it cost me like $60,000.
Oh my God.
No, it didn't cost me a thing being in Canada.
Wait, what? Who do I talk to about this? Oh, what? I got to talk to a manager. Karen, it does. Is that something?
Murder.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There was another thing that you said that I also wanted to circle back on that I found interesting. Oh, here's a question. Are you allergic to dental, the dental, what do you call it? Anesthetic.
Dental anesthetic? No.
Okay.
I don't believe I am. Anyway.
All right, fair enough. You kind of sound a little bit like Rob Hubel. Have you been told this?
I have not been told I sound like him specifically.
Yeah, it's not like I don't think someone would think you were him if they heard your voice, but there's definitely like a quality that is similar that I'm noticing. But anyway, did you have a question? Sorry.
I appreciate that very much. It's a compliment. Yeah, I do. I have a question. It's about tabletop RPGs.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick one game system, only one to play for the rest of known time, which would it be and what edition?
All right, Kevin, kick this. No, don't. Okay. I don't know. I guess 5th edition. Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing I like about 5th edition D&D. I feel like I can see the strings on developing it. That's part of like I've been writing all this D&D content. Part of why I feel like more confident in doing that is I just feel like you have more rails to create. Like there's not as much complication as there was in 3rd edition, because there's just a lot more like granular details that you can drill in on. But because of that, it's like I don't know what's dangerous, what's like something that you shouldn't be messing with, what's fine to mess with. Like, getting a sense of like, oh, let me just add advantage here or disadvantage there. It's like, it's not going to mess up things too bad, no matter what you do. Whereas like giving someone a plus 15 versus like a plus 7 bonus in 3.5 could be a huge difference. And it would be really hard to actually measure and determine that. So like, I really so I like this. The simplicity isn't like ideal in 5th edition, and I would ideally like something that was a bit more complicated. But as a result of the design and probably the simplicity, I just feel like you can leverage it a lot easier to go in the directions that you want without trouble. But also, who knows? Maybe that's just a function of me being more comfortable like writing stuff. Like, if somehow like we waved a magic wand and 5th edition came out first and 3rd edition was coming out now, I'd probably be writing 3rd edition stuff, right? And so, maybe it wouldn't be that hard. But it always felt really complicated to try, because I would try to write prestige classes and stuff because there were so fucking many in 3rd edition, and I'd never felt like I would do a good job. But the 5th edition stuff, I really feel like it's not too hard to nail. For instance, like a subclass is just 3 abilities half the time. So it's like, yeah, I can come up with 3 kind of thematically resonant abilities that feel interesting and that I would probably want to take if I was playing it. I don't think I could do all of the bullet points you have to hit to make a prestige class in 3rd edition, for instance, and so that level of like control I have over it is, I think, why I'd be drawn to D&D 5th edition. But I mean, I don't know, I it's not like, well, in the situation, I guess the situation is like, this is Magic, right? Someone has like cursed you with the inability to play any other game, right? Because it's like if it was an island and you just brought one game, you could play all sorts of D&D games.
Yeah,
you just wouldn't
could make
have to
up
use
your own rules. But I guess this is that situation. Some tormentor demon is like, you will die if you play by those rules.
Yeah. What about you? You must have an answer to this.
Oh man, I thought about it before asking, and while I was on hold for sure a little bit. I am with you on 5th edition because it leaves so much artistic license in the dungeon master's hands. People complain about it being rules light, but by the time 3.5 crawled into 4th edition, it was so bloated with rules, it was ridiculous, and Pathfinder came out. And 5th edition, like it really lets you be the master of the dungeon, to be a dork about it.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Kevin? You're a big time dungeon master.
Playing with you is the first time I've played any kind of role playing whatsoever. So I'm gonna have to defer to you guys here.
No, but it's like, I think I can imagine being comfortable with making 3, but again, it's just, the thing is like, I never feel like my consequences are that bad, but it also just feels like specifically more house rulable, or it's like it's meant for people to make it their own system in a way that like 4th edition was definitely like, no, there's only one way to play D&D, and it's with miniatures and grids and stuff. 3rd edition was not that dire. It was like you can make D&D whatever you want, but it is always going to be all of these rules, including, you know, suffocation rules and drowning rules. And it's like, well, we don't need those rules. And it's like, they're there, you know, whereas 5th edition, which is always like, there's always the golden rule of whatever the DM wants, you know, but it just feels more in the spirit of 5th edition as opposed to like just a caveat or like an asterisk or something, you know. I don't know. I don't know. I also, again, it just feels better in the hand of a creator. I don't know. Again, like making cool classes and subclasses for 5th edition, it just feels awesome. And even if the stuff is like stronger than it might be in the other counterparts, it doesn't feel like you're breaking the game. It feels like, yeah, you just give everyone one such benefit like that, and then it's balanced out, and it's not like it doesn't make everything trivial. I don't know. Well, anyway, do you have any last words before we boot you?
Oh man, yeah, create stuff for 101 and come listen to the Hooba Hooba, listen to all the Channel 101 stuff. It's fun. I got into it from Shop Home Video and finding you here through all that other stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. But now it's time to remove you? Did I do it? Okay, I did it. Okay.
You did it.
That's an awkward series of actions that you got to take to boot someone. Anyway, sorry about that. And thanks again, Kevin, for finding a funny time to boot this guy. We are almost out of time, but I do want to maybe try a food thing real quick. Show and taste situation. We still have these Asian flavored snacks, and we got these Cheetos ones that I don't know what they are. They look kind of like corn puffs or corn pops, like the cereal. And then that's Chester Cheetah is on the cover or the packaging, and he is, sorry for burping into the mic, that's gross, and he is like eating these big chickens, like chicken legs. So you got this too, Kevin?
Yeah.
Do you know what this is? Do you have a name? I mean, don't look it up.
It's supposed to be chicken flavored is all I know.
Chicken flavored orbs, chicken flavored really little lumps or something. But so later on in the show, we got Schraub Home Video. We got the real. Isn't there a real one happening tonight?
There is a newfound crap tonight. Yes,
newfound crap tonight. But first, we got the chicken. Oh boy, I just thought up a new idea. Okay, anyway, so these are like little. They're like the things that you wouldn't put. What do you call it? You know, like. At the bottom of a bag of fries, there's the little fries and the little bits of fries and the little nibs of fries that got cut off. This is like that for Cheetos. There are the little bits of Cheetos that weren't a full Cheeto, so they would have normally had to throw these away or something. It's like the little leftover Cheeto bits that are like oddly shaped.
Yeah.
So that's
I was wrong. Sorry. The flavor is called Cheetos American Turkey Leg.
Cheetos American Turkey Leg.
From China.
And, you know, we are Americans, so we are, you know, appreciators of a fine turkey leg. We can tell the difference between a good and a bad turkey leg. You know, that's just what being American is. You know, every 4th of July, we grill up our big turkey legs and we watch the big bubble show as the bubbles rise into the air every 4th of July evening, because that's just what patriotic Americans do, you know, with our turkey legs in hand. Our, you know, handheld vacuum cleaners, you know, just other things that aren't related to 4th of July. Have you tried these yet? I ate one. This is the second one.
It tastes kind of more like stuffing than turkey, I would say.
Yeah, kind of like just kind of generic kind of Italian seasonings, kind of like savory, the kind of stuff you might find in like like rosemary. I'm getting rosemary. A lot of sweetness too. Maybe that's just the corn and not the dust.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like generic MSG savory taste to it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's good though. I could definitely eat this whole bag.
Yeah, it just tastes salty. It just tastes like seasoning salt. Not like seasoning salt, but just like seasonings and salt. It doesn't really have a strong through line of a flavor. Conceptually, that's probably supposed to be the turkey. But anyway, I figured something out, Kevin. I figured out that we can actually we can make more money if we insert a what do you call it, an end roll ad. So we are going to have a short end to the show to fit an end roll ad in. So do you have any last words? Obviously, patreon.com/thesixler. Support me. Check out my D&D stuff. I like the D&D stuff. I think people would like it. I think people would buy it if they saw it. If you saw it in a normal book, I think you might go like, yeah, that's something that would be in D&D. It's maybe a bit silly, but it's reasonable. It's not crazy. Check it out. What about you, Kevin? Anything?
Yeah, Newfound Crap. So if you're watching this live, stick around. 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 Eastern is a Newfound Crap. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, come see us live on Sunday nights at SchrobHomeVideo.com. That starts at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern.
Awesome. And with that, that'll do it. So as always, I can't believe I'm still alive. Good night. Hello, my name is the Hector Man, and I sound like this, and I have an advertisement for you. It's an advertisement, and it's not inappropriate in any way. It's just a pixelated bar that pixelates whatever you put behind it. And, you could just use these in any circumstance. And it's a very interesting and cool to look at. Very mysterious. Here we go. Oh, look. I'm putting my hand up and I'm dropping the sensor bar. And who knows what's behind the finger? Isn't that interesting? It's mysterious and interesting to look at. And let me put it in front of my pants and get your mind out of the gutter. Why would you use this for anything other than making your pants area look cool? And just a quick zip. And who knows what's going on behind there? Probably nothing, because it's just about looking cool and there's nothing mysterious, because the premise of the ad and the joke behind it is kind of like, what if the sensor bars were just something that no one associated with censoring, and we're just like, oh wow, it looks so cool to have all these squares. Use the promo code Goblin Flakes for 10% off.
Scarpins Avenue.